Hey Brian, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, mate?
Very good. Um, First of all, thanks for coming on the podcast, man. What time is it over in England?
The time right now is 4:45.
Oh, okay, yeah, I caught you in the afternoon there. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, I appreciate you coming on, and yeah, before I talk about your upcoming fight, let's kind of get into the backstory here. So, how do you get into MMA?
So when I was a kid, I started in Jiu-Jitsu, traditional Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. And then I got my black belt when I was 12. And then from 12, I started Thai boxing. And then from Thai boxing, progressed into boxing. And hence I put all my eggs into one basket, going into MMA.
Yeah, and I think like with every fighter, kind of has a bit of a backstory, and that's what I love about MMA these days. Is like not too many people are, I think everyone kind of had a specialty, and that's all they could use in a fight. And now everyone's got a little bit of something now.
Yeah, I think you've got to be well-rounded now. You can't just go in as a typical boxer or Thai boxer. You've got to
Hmm.
be well-versed in this game because it's evolving so fast.
No, and I agree, and I think like with a lot of people, a lot of fighters, what happens is a lot of these young lads what happens is they go into a fight and they're just a striker, and then they get matched up with someone who's very well rounded, and they get put in trouble, and they have to learn the hard way.
It happened to me. My third fight, I was flying. All three, because I've had like 70 Thai fights. I've won 54, lost
Wow,
16. I've had 40 boxing bouts. I've
wow.
won 29, lost 11. And so my striking speaks for itself. But then when I went into my third MMA fight, it was on Bama. And I fought a lad called Daweed Fariki. And I just, my MMA at the time was just purely striking. I did not have a clue about the ground game. I got taken down. I transitioned from armbar to triangle to omoplata. And I survived the first round, funny enough. And then going to the second round, he took me down, ground and pound, and finished me. But then that gave me basically a kick up the arse to say, go and learn the ground game, which is it's imperative now.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, that's why I kind of laugh when a lot of these pro boxers want to transition to MMA and they say, I can kick someone's ass. And it's like, okay. Do
Yeah,
you know
there's
ground
no
game,
sense
buddy?
now. Yeah, it's ruthless. It's just because speaking from my experience, I it was underestimated the ground game, and then I took my hand to wrestling. That's what I love wrestling now. And
Hmm.
if I didn't have wrestling, it's like an arm or a leg is being taken away from you.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's just what it is. It's like people like boxing is great, kickboxing is great, but MMA is such a game changer. And I think that's why it's becoming so popular in the last 15, 20 years because people want to see what people can do. And I think boxing is starting to die a little bit because it's kind of, in my opinion, becoming a bit of a joke, if I'm gonna be honest.
No, you're right. Don't get me wrong. Where I'm from, if you're not a boxer, if you're not a footballer, it used to be you wouldn't be known, but now it's MMA, and
Hmm.
MMA is taken over. I think because it's the fights are so well matched, and it's the progression from one fight to another. If you as a professional, if you lose in boxing, you've got to go back a couple of fights before you can build yourself back up. But going into MMA, you lose one fight. If you put a show on in that fight, it's like it bigs you up again. So you've got to, it's always 50-50 chance.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Now I do kind of want to move on here though. So what's your nickname though? Big Bad Wolf.
Yeah, the big bad wolf, yeah.
Yeah. So what happened first? Was it the tattoo or was it your nickname?
No, it was my nickname. So basically, where we're from, Kirby, Liverpool, we're always in fights when we were younger. And then
Hmm.
I basically moved away from that and then homed into like a group of people to train with. And then them people basically, me mate give me Dave Faulkner, he gave me the mask, a wolf mask, and said you should come out as the big bad wolf. And then
Oh
it
yeah.
only becomes apparent when you look more into it, about the berserkers and the Vikings and how they used to wear a wolf pelt and used to become that animal. So when I go to battle now, it's like I'm going in dressed as the wolf. if it's trying to envision that I'm going to take someone's head off.
Right on, right
Yeah.
on. And when did you get the tattoo?
And tattoo a couple of years ago. So when I come back from Afghanistan, I was in the army.
Oh wow.
Come back from Afghanistan, and then decided to get the tattoo.
Now, what made you decide to do that? I mean, you're a pro fighter, so what prompted that decision?
With the tattoo or the army?
Oh, sorry, with the army.
Oh, so I've always wanted to join from when I was a kid. And then my family was in the army, my dad was in the army, and it just seemed like a natural thing. So joining the army at 19, I thought, like, if I join the army, I'm going to get the army's full backing. I'm going to get looked after. I lived in London. I was boxing for the army. Basically, if you're a sportsman in the army, they can't look after you enough.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
then I got the call to war, so took up arms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a it's kind of the pro about being in the army. Obviously, there's a lot of cons, of course, but with the pros, I mean, they always take care of you, and I mean I think that's kind of an outing for a lot of young guys and women, of course, to get in the army. I mean, nowadays, I'm from Canada, and at least in Canada, they help pay for like your education, things like that.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like me. I got medically discharged because I'm deaf in my left ear. I had the GPMG, the general purpose machine gun. It was a gun that was up to my chest. So when I was in Afghanistan, it was pretty kinetic, the tool we had. And then coming back, the army looked after you. They put you on the right path, the right career transition. They give you enhanced learning credits of where you want to go, how you want to be trained. So they're always looking after you.
Yeah, and I mean, like with a little bit of the hearing, like the problem that you had with the hearing, does that affect you in your fights?
Yeah. So another fight I fought, what's his name? I fought a lad on Cage Warriors, Damien. Anyway, when I fought him, won the first round, easy. Going into the second round, I got caught in a triangle. And this was when my wrestling days, me no-gi days were very, very minimal. So get in, and my corner goes, stack up and look to your right to get out of the triangle. Mm-hmm. So I stacked up and looked to my left and put it on even more. And I come out and he said, "Did you not hear what I said?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm deaf." And he was like, "Oh, I forgot you're deaf." So now that's kind of why the wrestling game has got to be imperative and my jits game has got to be on the ball. Because with me hearing, it's not the best. Like,
so what is it what are strategies that you use to help assist with that?
In training, I close my eyes and I try and feel for the moves. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of Bruce Lee, be like water, but I kind of feel for the move. And once I feel the move, I listen to certain points with the corner team, what they shout out, whether it's stack up or look to your left, look to your right, pull the arm down. So you're constantly listening to think of how can I improve it, and then on your feet, it's putting feints and flinches in to see how you can get a reaction out to someone.
Okay. And then with your upcoming fight with Josh Reed on March 19th, so you've been fighting in like multiple promotions. So how did this fight come together?
Well, I've been training since the start of lockdown with all of the team at Four Corners. But we got the call 4 weeks ago to see if we wanted to take it. I've been waiting for the fight for a year now, so I've jumped at it. Yeah.
And that's just kind of how it happened. Like, is it like a 1-fight contract? How much did they offer you?
They've just offered us the fight, a fight by fight basis. So until we might get, like I was thinking, we got called for Rising in Japan, but that fell through within COVID. So I haven't had a fight for the year, so we just took this fight and said, "Yeah, I'll take it."
You know, if Cage Warriors gave you extended contract, would you be open to that? Or are you waiting for Ryzen? What do you want?
I think we'd just be open to anything at the moment, given the current situation.
Of
course. So we'd probably snap at it, yeah. Because Cage Warriors is always active. They're well known and they're well reversed, so we know we can. They're always busy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always fighters. There's always someone to compete with as well.
Yeah, of course, and that's kind of the issue with today's time right now is that with fighters, I mean, if you're not in a contract with a promotion, it's really hard to get in somewhere because with what obviously with what's going on.
100%, yeah. Because I feel like a lot of fighters now, some of them are just freelancing, as you go, so to speak, and they're struggling to get by, just to get fights as well. So
Mm-hmm.
being signed up, that's why I thought I'll take this opportunity at bantamweight. I said, but if my weight cut, I cut weight to bantam, that's not a problem. But then win Josh, I'm gonna call off the flyweight champion or see how I want to move to flyweight then.
And there you go.
Yeah.
And with this fight with Josh, can you give a prediction how this is gonna go?
Well, he likes to fight, so do I. So it's got to be one or the other. One of us are going to get bingos.
Of course, that's usually how the fight goes. But do you, with Reed, he has some good ground game. He's got a good groundwork. Is that something that you expect he's going to utilize in this fight?
Massively, yeah. I'm expecting him to blag a straightener, say it's on your feet, encourage me to go to the feet. Then he's going to throw a body lock on. And then I'm waiting for the counter off the body lock then. But because he's tall, so basically see how the table unfolds with him. But I'm expecting him to go to the ground.
Mm-hmm. And what is it that you find you're going to bring to this fight that he hasn't seen?
A resilience. I'm just going to be in his face all the time. Mm-hmm. Whether he copes with that, whether he breaks, it's up to him.
Do you think that's something you think the pace is going to be the issue for him?
I'm not too sure about the pace because I'm a bit of a slow starter myself. Right. So it's just whether he can cope with me relentless of bringing the fight to him, stepping off and seeing me go again, going to the floor, putting my pace onto the floor rather than him trying to impose his.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, you haven't, as you mentioned, you haven't fought since March 2020. Depending on how this fight turns out, how quickly would you like to have a turnaround? If possible.
But if possible, say hopefully you don't get no injuries. Hopefully to be out in June.
Mm-hmm.
But injuries, so it's MMA, injuries are rife.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that kind of concerns you during this time? Is the injury, because obviously when you get injured, they usually give you medical suspension, right?
Yeah, that's right. But which is good for safe MMA because you show that it's basically just taken after the boxing and you get looked after before you fight. But last time my fingers were swelling up, my hands were swelling up, just off kicking. So it's purely cosmetics, but it takes a good 6 to 8 weeks for them to heal.
Mm-hmm. Of course. And talking about your well-being, I know you mentioned that this fight's going to be at bantamweight and it's not going to be much of a weight cut. So do you prefer fighting at flyweight? You fought at both weights. So would you prefer fighting at flyweight or bantamweight?
To be honest, flyweight, I'm unbeaten at the run. I've stopped everyone in my path. And now I'm thinking, I'm not getting any younger. So going to bantamweight might be the good step up as per health as well. But I think if I went to flyweight now, I'd need a good 12 weeks. Whereas bantamweight, I can cut the weight in 4.
Mm-hmm. So I'm
never too far off the weight, you see.
Mm-hmm. So that's something that bantamweight is that something on your radar? Is that something that you're considering for the future?
Well, for the time being, just see how we get on with Josh.
Right. And I know you mentioned that you would possibly call it the flyweight champ. Is that something that you are still going to do?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, that's on my radar.
And do you find that will open up the door for extended contract?
Be so, yeah. Just for the pure fact that I've watched them, I've known them for a while now, and I think our stylistically would be a good matchup, providing I take Josh out as well.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Well, hopefully that all works out for you. Like I said before, during this time, getting contracts and just getting a fight can be hard sometimes. Now I want your thoughts. I don't know a fellow Englishman, Leon Rocky Edwards. I'm sure you probably know of him.
Yeah.
He had a fight last night. And obviously he's had quite the win streak. And unfortunately, he would want a title shot. The fight didn't go the way he wanted last night. I guess the fight went to a no contest.
Yeah.
Did you watch that fight?
I've watched the highlights of it this morning.
Yeah. And I guess it went to no contest because of eye pokes, and he did that with like a number 13 rank. Do you feel that's right or wrong, the fact that he still wants a title shot?
I think if you've made it was an honest mistake, but putting an honest mistake, it becomes a deliberate mistake. I think he's called out the flyweight, he's called out the champion, but I still think he'd need another win just to justify the fact that, okay, if I'm taking out the champion, I deserve the round. There's not going to be no eye pokes this time, just to prove, because that lad, the one who got eye poked, his eye was bad, like.
Well, and the guy that he eye poked was like number 13th rank, and even at that, I don't know if that's really legit or that's really fair. The fact that he took out somebody that was number 13th rank and you get a title shot, rightfully so. He's worked his way up, but I think the fan base is angry, and they should be.
Yeah, get into the top 10 and then just climb the ladder, and then you got the right to call you the champion up there.
Mm-hmm. And for yourself, so obviously Cage Warriors, that's where you're at right now. In the next few years, is there a promotion that you're working towards?
To be honest, when I was younger, I'd say the big one, the UFC. But for now, I'm happy to just go wherever I need it. COVID took a year off my life, and just to get fights is hard enough. So I'm happy to take the fights wherever and whenever.
Awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on, taking the interview, and taking the time to come on here. I appreciate it. Good luck with your fight with Josh Reed in March 19th. Sorry.
Next Friday, yeah. 19th, yeah.
And good luck with your fight, and we'll talk soon.
No worries, nice one. See you later.